So we're going to talk a little bit about what is ERP, which you would think would be this super easy discussion because there's like $100 billion or more literally sold in ERP around the world each year, but it's actually not. So I'm going to kind of break it down a little bit here so that it is easy to understand. Because listen, if you're out trying to buy an ERP or needing an ERP or wanting an ERP, how can you do that unless you really know what it is? You're going to know after this session. So here we go. So one of the most important things that you have to look at for what is an ERP is your organization or your business, your nonprofit, your public safety organization, your government, your municipality, whatever your organization is, you really need to understand what it does to then say, what does the ERP need to do to support what you do? Pretty basic. And if I say anything in here that's overly complex, my marketing team's going to throw a marker at me. So we're going to keep it simple. Good. So we've got a couple examples that we've prepared here that will help you get the idea of what to do. But you're going to need to do this exercise on your own. Even before you call a vendor, you should do what we're about to talk about here, okay? Good. So we've taken two examples of businesses that we've worked with in the past. One is a professional services firm. The other one is a manufacturing sort of distribution model, okay? And we're going to break that down and talk again about sort of how ERP fits into that. So this is what we call a business process ecosystem, a high-level business process ecosystem. And it's super simple, right? This basically says that this particular organization, professional services organization, does sales and marketing, business development. They do project work, right? They have human resources and payroll. They have accounting and they have reporting. That's it. That's a very simplistic way to look at the business, right? And why do we do that? Because here's the key. ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning, you can go to Wikipedia and Gartner, and you can see sort of the kind of academic definitions for what those are. But we look at it like a conceptual framework. So we say, okay, if you're this company, well, what do you want to automate with enterprise software? With just software, right? I probably shouldn't even say enterprise software, just software, right? So if we say, we want to run our billings. We want to increase our efficiencies with our billing process. Today, we do a lot of things manually. In the future, we want to automate billing. Okay, good. Well, now we have a map to kind of figure out where that particular process would go. It would go under accounting, right? So this map helps us decide what ERP is going to automate in our business. Now, there's one other thing I'm going to mention. And this gets a little esoteric, but stick with me for just a minute. You can kind of think about ERP or even CRM or other EIEIO kinds of acronym systems as mini minds, M-I-N-D-S. It's really what it is. It's a bunch of people. It's like the Borg from Star Trek, but we're not going to go there. But lots of people who all can go to one place and look at information that should be the digital twin of the organization. So there you go. There's a lot of cliche things I just threw into that. But if you think about it like it's a central storage place for people to go for information, kind of like your mind is for you, then it'll start to make a lot of sense. So again, let's take the example of billing and we say, that's it. We need to be able to automate our billing. We got to get our bills out faster so that our day sales outstanding with cash decreases. We know in this area we want some software. We also know we need to do better reporting and analytics based on our performance and what we're doing. HR payroll's fine. You know, we've got that outsourced, somebody's handling it, but you know, we really have no idea what our leads are. And we have no idea what our marketing opportunities are. So we would say here that the ERP then would kind of operate and automate these specific processes and leave this one out. Now we have other clients that say, wow, we really don't have any idea of our employee life cycle. And payment for payroll is a mess. We're manually doing that. We want to automate it. So maybe their ERP solution is actually an HCM solution, human capital management with payroll. So for that particular organization, they want to automate just that. That's why this diagram is so important. But you could say, okay, that's fine, but what if there's areas within these different processes that we want to automate? And that's why we have this next level down diagram that I'm going to spend a little bit of time on, because again, this is super helpful to understand. This is a very simplistic view, again, of a typical professional services firm. It's actually an employee stock option plan, or it's employee owned. That's why you see that employee stock management there. This is an example from a real client that we're working with. But the idea here again is, okay, if we're looking at billing right here, right? Well, guess what? We need time and expenses that goes into billing, right? And in order to do time and expense, we actually have to deliver a project. There has to be a project in the system. We have to assign resources. We may have subcontractors, et cetera, that play into this. So again, using ERP as a conceptual framework, then we can look at this model and we can apply that conceptual framework that says our ERP needs to do maybe just these things right here. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe it's just going into the general ledger also, that's all we want. All the rest of this stuff, don't care. We're going to leave it out of our ERP. Make sense? Good. Let's do one more example too. So let's go to a manufacturer distributor. So a lot of our organizations that we work with, even in the nonprofit space, I would even say everybody we work with has very contemporary business models. There isn't an organization I can think of where it's just, all we do is services or manufacture or fee for service in a nonprofit, or we do humanitarian services. Everybody's doing everything. That's just the way it is. And in this modern times of, the early 2020s. So that's why these frameworks are even more important. This particular organization is a manufacturer. About a quarter of their business is manufacturing, but the other 3/4 is distribution. So they're buying other people's products and they're manufacturing their own products, and then they're selling those to the same customers. Makes sense. So again, when you think about this concept of ERP, well, it's just Oracle, or it's just SAP, or it's just Infor. Not really, right? Those are just the examples of solutions that offer ERP packages. But for these guys, right, we sort of have to say, they want all of this. This particular client, when they say ERP, it actually means every single box in here that they want to automate. That's a lot. And guess what? Some of the apps that I just mentioned, actually those 3 that I just mentioned can do all that. But if you go to a smaller solution, they might not have HR built into it. Okay, fine. Well, then we go to a best of breed for HR and payroll. Fine, no problem, right? But you see how, again, you have to have this framework to then conceptually say, okay, what do we want to automate? Because when you go down to the next level diagram, there's even more stuff that can come in here too, with even other services, right? For these particular guys, they actually even have services that they provide, right? This is sort of warranty services, but it's also work orders and repairs and all this other stuff. So this particular organization is basically like an engineering company, they're a manufacturing company, they're a distribution company, and they're a services company. So when you go and talk to ERP vendors, if you don't know this framework, you're wasting your time. I'm just going to say that, especially if you made it this far into my presentation. You really need to understand your needs. We can help you with that for sure, but this stuff's pretty basic, right? So if you understand this kind of concept, now you can go to the ERP vendors. You can tell them, when I say ERP, I mean sales, inventory management, engineering, production, distribution, services, accounting, HR, reporting. In your world, that is your ERP. Now you can go to Acumatica, NetSuite, Unit4, whoever it is that you think is out there that can meet your needs, and you can say, that's what ERP means to me. Does that mean the same thing to you? And of course the salesperson's going to say, yes, right? Right. But you can say, okay, good, show me. Actually show me in a demonstration how this works. Because now you understand the fundamental that ERP is nothing more than a conceptual framework, that the software of ERP is basically a central place to store data and automate these business processes that are here. And you have your enterprise mind, basically, where you have the enterprise resources, and now you can plan on them from that central location in ERP. That's all it is. If anybody says it's anything more, they're just trying to sell you something you probably don't need. Thank you.